a sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Well, with me is my guest, Andrea Sadoswki, right? And Andrea is with the Fraser Valley Conservancy. And so, first of all, tell us what the Conservancy is all about.
The Conservancy is all about protecting and preserving local habitats and ecosystems. They're all about wildlife. So we have a whole frog program, an owl program, a land stewards program. So somebody can go and visit your property and tell you how to best steward your land to make it more friendly for wildlife and better for just rewilding your natural surroundings, really.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Conservancy is, pretty much about, taking care of habitats and nature and wildlife and preserving endangered species that we have in the Fraser Valley.
And we have so much, right?
Yeah.
And
A lot.
I guess it's making people aware of what we need to protect and why we need to protect it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So when did you get involved?
I just started in September, so I became the program coordinator for this brand new program we're starting called Step To It.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So the Step To It program is basically about involving people who aren't already involved, and so reaching outside of our normal volunteer base and normal supporter base and trying to involve more people in the Fraser Valley and make things more accessible to them, because sometimes people think like protecting the environment is this huge thing, and especially if you don't have land, if you live in a tiny apartment in downtown Chilliwack, it's like, how can I get involved in that?
Good point. Yeah.
So it's about giving people tools and resources they need to connect with nature and preserve nature wherever they're at, in their backyard, in their neighborhood, making them aware that their actions can impact wildlife and their habitats.
Right.
So that's when I got involved in September to sort of get the Step To program
up and running.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but what made you get involved to begin with?
I went to University of the Fraser Valley with the Global Development Studies program.
Okay.
And I knew I wanted to work for a nonprofit. I've worked in nonprofits for like 10 years now, just doing like all over the place, all different kinds of nonprofits. And I was pretty devastated over the state of the world. I was pretty scared and feeling very hopeless and not knowing what to do, thinking there's nothing I can do. Like, it's big oil, it's governments, it's billionaires, like they're the ones. And it is true, they have a way bigger impact and they can do a lot more than maybe I can, but I still have a part to play. Everybody still has a part to play. So that's when I got more interested in the environmental sector and in work like this. I thought this might help some of this anxiety that I'm feeling about the state of our world and what we're leaving for generations to come. So that's sort of why I applied and got involved, because
it's important. We all live on this planet, right? And we only have this planet.
Yeah.
And I like to tell people, like, okay, the oil company and all that, it's really tough to get past what they do, but it's not their planet, it's our planet, right? So I'm a prime example of somebody who lives in downtown Chilliwack in a condo. There's property all around, but I have to abide by whatever rules are set down. So what could I do?
Yeah, well, we're all about planting trees, getting native species in the ground. So if there's any space you have, any garden area you have around your building that you want to put native plants in or trees in, or just coming to a planting project, we're always doing planting projects, mostly in the fall. That's when planting season mostly is. So coming to a planting project, volunteering, putting trees in the ground, making people aware that getting to know just the local flora and fauna that you have around you. And even just observing, being part of citizen science. So we have a new program coming out at Ryder Lake that, because there's a bunch of, I guess, Oregon spotted frogs out there. Yeah. So they're
The little
starting
toads, yes.
Yeah, so that's a huge habitat for them. So they're starting a citizen science program over there for those citizens to get more involved in their tracking and making sure these frog species will make a comeback. So yeah, getting involved in citizen science, planting native species, becoming educated about, what is happening and what you can do, and talking to others, joining maybe discussion groups about if you have eco-anxiety and you feel hopeless and you don't think there is anything to do, talking to people and joining together with people and discussing your fears and taking the next step to go into action.
Right.
Yeah, and then making things better for pollinators. So yeah, planting native species that flower and bloom at all different times of the year.
Right.
That's good for wildlife as well. What else?
Well, where's the question? Here's the question. Where could we go to find out what's natural here? What plants are natural here, Because I don't know. I know some maybe, but I don't know what's considered an invasive species or a species brought in, as opposed to what should be here.
Yeah, no, that's a really good, we're trying to make these resources more accessible, because I also had no idea. We have a gardening guide, planting with native species, that the Fraser Valley Conservancy made a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So we have that PDF online that people can go to learn about all the native species that are really beneficial for planting. Other than that, the South Coast, I guess they're more of an endangered species. There really does need to be more accessible resources, like apps or something that people can identify and look at a plant and take a picture of that plant and figure out whether or not that's invasive or native. There really does need to be, because there's just textbooks. There's
right. I was just going to say, sorry, because I know that we have a number of garden centers, and they don't necessarily just sell native species, right?
Yeah.
So how do we get them on board? Stop selling species that are not native to this area.
I don't know. I just go to
local.
I just go to the local plant nurseries. So BC, I think Wild Heritage Plants is in Chilliwack, and there's a couple in Mission, Nat's Nursery, and
so we have to. Sorry, other than you, we as people that belong on this planet, we have to go to those nurseries, and if we don't buy the plants that are not native to this area, they're going to stop selling them, because their whole idea is to make money to sell plants, right? So if we don't buy them, they won't sell them. Yeah,
and making it more attractive, letting people know the benefits of planting native plants versus introduced species that could potentially become invasive, and modeling to people that you can have a really beautiful flourishing garden just with native plants.
Right. I when I lived in my own home, I had hollyhocks growing everywhere, and the tiny little bees, that really tiny little bees, would be all over the place. And people would ask me, "Aren't you afraid?" Well, I have to say, they don't sting. They just want to do their job, right? And I look forward every year to them coming back, and they would just, the hollyhocks were taller than me, and I'd walk and I'd hear all this little buzzing and singing, and it was just beautiful. I just see it. It really is a nice thing when you have nature doing what nature's supposed to do.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, it's all about rewilding and pretty much giving nature back to nature, trusting that she knows what is best to grow and how to thrive.
Right.
But we have to do our part to make sure that nature is able to do that by removing invasive species and threats to wildlife we may have in our backyard.
Right.
There's, if you have a rain barrel, there's often wildlife that can get caught in that. And you have to be careful with bat boxes. Bat boxes could be more harm than good in some cases. Right? In some cases, you really have to be careful of the position and the type of bat box. And because there's some that, and hummingbird feeders, making sure, if you have a hummingbird coming to your feeder all winter and then it's frozen and maybe you don't have time to just stay on top of it, then
it can't, it's not going to survive if it can't feed.
That's the food source that you've built up for this hummingbird. So making people aware of maybe these stewardship mistakes. Maybe they had very good intentions of I had a hummingbird feeder out last winter, and there were hummingbirds that were coming all the time to the feeder, but I really just couldn't keep on top of. I was working like every day, graveyards and going to school, and yeah, I don't know what happened to those hummingbirds, but it was.
So hopefully they moved on to somewhere where somebody had time to change, to fill theirs, refill their feeder.
I'm hoping, but it really I should have took more responsibility to ensure, like, if I put out this food source, I'm continuing to maintain this healthy food source for these birds. Otherwise, my actions could have consequences on the lives of these little birds.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I was thinking about talking with some of my family members is like, we're building and building, because human beings are the most invasive species on the planet. And we take over property all the time to build. And in Chilliwack, we have this policy of not building up too high. And I'm thinking we have to change that. Might not look as pretty, but we're not taking up more land all the time, right? If we're going to keep reproducing at the numbers that we do, we have to do something, because we still need all of those, because without the pollinators, we don't have certain foods that we need, right? It has a ripple effect for sure, right? So it's more than just taking care of those species and all of that. It's also about what we human beings are doing with our space, like I said, as opposed, as buildings and stuff like this, right? What do you do? Where do the animals go if we're taking up their space? Because if a bear comes in, because we're now taking up so much of their territory, all of a sudden the bear is looking, they're hungry, whatever like that. What happens to that bear? More than likely they get shot.
Yeah.
Right? Because people are afraid, So we have to do something about that, not just the tiny little creatures, but the big creatures, and hold back ourselves from spreading everywhere.
Densifying is a good way to create an urban environment, can keep it urban. We're also looking at creating more tree canopies, so more tree cover lining the streets, creating more of an urban forest, so that we can live in harmony with wildlife. We can still live here and still maintain wildlife here as well. It's a difficult question that I don't know the answer to.
No, I just wanted to bring it up. I understand, and I don't expect you to. I don't mean to just put you on the spot. I don't expect you to answer. Just questions or things that need to be said. Like for the trees, we had lost a number of trees along Spadina. They were the Japanese maples that were obviously not native here, and something some disease got them, so they all had to be replaced with. I don't think they put up more Japanese. They were pretty, especially when they bloomed. And I called it all that the pink snow when the blooms would fall. But it was not native to the area. So in a way, it's opportune that they died, so that native trees can be planted. Right?
Yeah, hopefully. Do you know if they're going to plant native trees?
Well, they've already planted trees, and I don't know what they are. Unfortunately, I have no clue what they are.
Yeah.
But I just know that they're not the Japanese maples. Right?
Okay, cool.
I think they were gifted or something like that. I don't remember the details on that. I've been to Europe, and they don't have the space we have. They're not spread out the way we are. So they have this more narrow roads, and they'll have a store with apartments up on top of it. And their vehicles are all smaller. Their trucks are they look like little baby trucks, but they still do the job. Whereas we see these big honking 450 Fords 450 or whatever, and they're big vehicles.
Yeah.
We don't need that.
Yeah, and it's also making transit more accessible and easier to use. I was really shocked when I moved to the Fraser Valley. I grew up in Delta and worked in Vancouver most of the time because there were better paying jobs in Vancouver. It was so easy. The transit system, the Metro van transit system was so easy. And then I moved to the Fraser Valley. I'm like, what is this? How did people use this?
You're stuck, right? If you don't drive, if you don't have your own vehicle, what, right? And I have to say, I've never used a bus, even though it's very close to me. I can get a bus anywhere, but I just never had to. And I no longer drive, but I have people who are willing to take me, if they're going shopping or whatever. And my daughter, kind of pick up, please. So I get kind of lazy. And over here, you can't see it on there, but this is my I have to use this now.
Okay.
It's a mobility scooter that I call my pimp mobile because it sounds better, you know, and it's electric, so it's a little bit more environmentally friendly. So, but I can't go, let's say I can't go to Abbotsford on it, you know, it just won't go that far. So there's all kinds of things though that we can, little things
do.
as you said, that we can do and we should try to do. And this hopelessness, I understand because I was feeling that myself, you know, for a long time. When I hear about what the government does, or, you know, Canada's not doing well when it comes to the urban footprint and changing all of that. You know, we're supposed to, they were said by such and such, we're going to start reducing whatever. We're way behind.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely no reason for that other than finances. That's what it's about.
Yeah, people follow the money. I mean, it is these big companies. It's the big companies and big oil that want you to feel hopeless. They want you to think there's nothing you can do. You know, why don't you give in to your despair? Because they're the ones also who invented the carbon footprint, right? They said, hey, go on our online calculator and calculate how much carbon you're emitting every year, whereas they're dumping gallons of oil into the ocean. So they really do profit off of our fear and hopelessness and make it seem like we can't take any action, but we can take action. Things don't look great, but they're not hopeless. And we are still here today. We can still do something right now today. We can probably do something tomorrow and the day after that. And it may feel small, but it could make the difference in the life of a hummingbird or a black bear or an Oregon spotted frog. I mean, a life is a life. I think it doesn't matter if it's a little amphibian or a butterfly. I think as long as you are enhancing their life in some way, then maybe you've done your job for that one day and you've made a difference in the life of that one little animal who can survive one more day. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. So remind everybody about the new program.
New program is called Step to It. We are just getting started. We just started in September, and we have a ambassador program starting in Mission called the Habitat Healers in 2023, I guess. Wow, it's almost 2023.
Yeah.
Wow.
Next month.
Next month, yeah. So next year, there's going to be a new program, and we're basically asking for Mission residents who are interested to come out and steward this one property that we have in Mission, and that could involve removing invasive species, picking up garbage, planting more native species, doing stream surveys. As a salmon-bearing stream in the property that we currently steward. So we're trying to create these small ambassador groups in every municipality of the Fraser Valley. So we're starting in Mission in 2023, and then we'll move to Abbotsford, Chilliwack in the years to come. And until then, we're just tabling at events and doing, you know, collaborating with different groups and getting our message into the community that people can do things. And there are many organizations in the Fraser Valley who are working towards this. The Fraser Valley Conservancy is just one of so many organizations. I think you have so many people on your show who are doing this. Like there's the Rotary Club in Chilliwack, and there's the Wildlife Protection Club, and there's so many people interested in doing these things. And I'm not a biology student. I don't know anything about anything. I'm not a political science student, but I'm just somebody who really cares about the earth and wants to see things happen. So that could be you too. You could feel like you don't know anything, but you can still do something because
of course we can always do something, even if it's voting for the right people to do something.
Voting is so important.
Is there a website that people can go to get more information?
FraserValleyConservancy.com, and you go under what we do, and then you can see our Step 2 program right there. You can follow us on social media at Step 2 at Fraser Valley. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, so you can find us all the places.
Okay, and there's places where people can sign up to volunteer or whatever, right?
Yeah, there's different opportunities all the time, whether that just be filling out surveys for different things, or volunteering, coming to our planting projects, coming to events that we have, or events that we're promoting for other groups. There's always ways to get involved, and we're always spreading that on our Instagram. So if you follow that, then you'll keep updated.
Well, thanks a lot.
Thank
I
you
really
so much.
Appreciate that. And thank you for watching. So you've been listening to Andrea Sadoswki. I'm going to include the website. So as she said, you know, we can do a little bit. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. And things are gray. They're not black. They're gray. So let's take them out of the gray and move them into the white. And so there's more hope for everybody. Okay. And so just remind everybody to thank for, first of all, for watching the show. I hope you continue to do so, and take care and peace out.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.